Bam! This week on Hard Knocks magazine, he's an international soap opera star on a vision quest to conquer Hollywood.
Mira, my photographer here in New York who's a badass, he can't do horizontal.
Then reporter Jonathan Duran takes a stroll in Citi Field for an afternoon of the nation's pastime with sports journalist Haley Smilo.
So, what's your favorite stadium?
My favorite stadium, I think, is Quincy Park, but I also like,
And finally, author, comedian, hip-hop artist, and social activist, Imp the Author, talks about his life in the streets and his inspiring new novel.
I sold 5,000 copies. I sold 5,000 copies so far. Out of my trunk. I'm on the front, 5,000. Since the end of last summer.
We meet Kareem Hayes from Jamaica, Queens. He grew up in Harlem during the peak of the crack epidemic. A victim of turbulent times and adversity, Kareem persevered by taking all challenges head on. From homelessness to street violence, Kareem turned his hard knock life into a beacon of light for those who have lost their ways in the streets. John gets to ask Kareem some real tough questions about growing up as a thug and how he channeled all that negativity into an amazing self-published book entitled Necessary Evil, and how his life in the streets have made him the promising, positive entrepreneur he is today.
So I'm sitting here with Kareem Hayes, writer, author.
Music, you know what I'm saying?
Music,
I
do the
host
music thing.
showcases as well. I do like a number of things.
Okay, very good.
You know.
But what I know you as is a writer, because I just read your book, Necessary Evil, and I read it in 2 days. And not just because I only had 2 days to read it, but because your book is a page turner.
Oh, thanks.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I read the book. It was awesome. I read the book actually in 3 days.
The book is colorfully, I guess it's colorfully written. Like, you definitely get a visual, you know what I mean, as you read through it. It's an easy page turner, and it will surprise you.
So the actual name of the book is Necessary Evil.
Right.
And it's based on a social ecology
Of New York's drug trade during the mid to early 90s. It's loosely based on my life, but I changed some of the names and locations to protect the innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you have a first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, some of the things that I went through growing up and experienced, but more than that, I think Necessary Evil is kind of like me getting something out of my system. It's like who I was, not who I actually am, and I had to get that out of my system so I can move on to my other pieces that I'm coming out with. You know what I mean?
INF, Money Green, Magamal, Diz, Deuce, love you, man. Imp. It's hard when you try to build an army, man. Shit falls apart sometimes. Side though. Money Green, keep going. INF. Check it out. Money Green, INF. Yeah. A lot of niggas switch sides and get caught up in the fame. And if your man turns snitch, could your picture being framed when a team falls apart? Well, who do you blame? The player, the coach, the owner, or the game? And there was G Money, Nino, Abel, and Kane, Cameron, Jim Jones, and Hove, Dame. We were brothers at the start, but somehow we grew apart. How's a body supposed to live without a brain? Or heart?
People who grow up in certain conditions and certain situations might have to use criminal activity to get out of those situations, you know what I mean? But I was always a person that, no matter what I did in the street and different things like that, I would always be a reader. I was always into educating myself in art and stuff like that, just making sure my mind was elevated. So, writing was always something I loved. I got in my share of trouble, but more on the book is it's how I say it's based in the 90s. That's a time period that was never covered. You know what I mean? Like you have like the 80s, like the Alpo and Pappy Mason and all that other shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have like the kids now, you know what I mean, with the pants below their ass and blood and crip. You know, I'm talking to you like urban, street, or whatever. For this part to describe the era that I'm coming from. I'm talking about the fate and glory of the street game and hip hop becoming something that, you know what I mean? That's why the whole book is driven by hip hop songs, if you notice that.
Yeah,
so it brings you back to that time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to believe in a dream when having faith in God, and the God is unseen, like a dot from a beam, never seeing what's in between the barrel and the bullseye. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a mouth full of lies can never swallow truth. And what's a stray dog compared to a werewolf? And why start a war if you gonna call it?
I had to take pieces of myself and put things in other places, you know what I mean? Because the story is so detailed, you know, like especially with the childhood. You know, I grew up in a house, like my house was like a crack house. You know what I'm saying? That's like the type of things I grew up in and I observed as a child. But it didn't hinder me from actually changing my life. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of power behind the story. I break down the 5% culture, you know what I mean?
I definitely want to get into the 5%ers, but what I wanted to ask you was, growing up in that culture, but still understanding that knowledge is power, how is that conflict? You know, because I know in the story, the main character, he has to kind of build this mentality of, you know, almost being an animal, you know what I mean? But because I think that directly conflicts with the whole concept of knowledge is power. And so how is that for you growing up? You know, understanding that what you're doing is kind of fucked up, but, you know, there is a better way out. So you always had that in mind, so.
Yeah. Well, some people will say that, well, you know, you don't have a chance. But it's kids in Africa who don't get no food that don't have a chance. You always have a chance.
Yeah.
It's what you choose to do with your mind. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a person, I used to smoke weed, drink, you know what I'm saying? Everything. I don't smoke or drink, you know what I mean? I work out. You know, it's just being able to stay disciplined in the midst of adversity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we all have to show that resiliency, and I think that's a big part of what the book is about. Like, if you notice, you know, like things in my life, I lost my mom at an early age. Not saying I lost her to death, but I lost her to drugs.
Yeah.
And then she came back. You know what I'm saying? She resurrected herself.
Okay.
We had some struggles, and the inspiration to write the book, I believe, is just another extension of his art, his talent, and he needed an outlet. So I'm glad he was able to write a book like that. And of course, I feel that he got it from us. He got it from me. He got some of his art from me, because I'm extremely talented. No, don't put that in there.
And we went through our trial and tribulations. I was a product of the crack era and stuff like that. But that didn't stop me from being an artist. You know, that didn't stop me from wanting social change. You know, and honestly, the spirituality and the desire for social change overrided all that gangster shit.
Yeah.
Because the core of the gangster shit was social change. That's what it was all about. We were fighting for freedom. And then they tricked us into fighting ourselves.
Exactly.
You know, so I think at the end of the day, what I do every day is spiritual. You know what I mean? Because I get up, I exercise, I go outside, I sell my book.
Yeah.
That's what I do every day. That's how I make my living. You feel me? And there's a lot of different things I could have did. Now, I've done everything from, you know, rap. I got like a CD or whatever, you know. I've been a corporate auditor for Sprint and whatever, and corporate life and stuff like that. And I've also been a lot of different things in the street life that I don't talk about a lot, you know what I mean? But like, if you come around the hood or you go anywhere, they'll know Inf, you know what I'm saying? That's what my name is Inf. People call me Kareem all the time because that's the book thing, but my name is Inf, INF, that stands for I am now and forever. You know what I'm saying? And that's like my dagger, my logo. I don't know if y'all can get the shot of this, but it's right here on my arm.
This ain't a prison tattoo.
Nah, it's not. It's in the street tattoo. And I wrote the book in the street as well. Like, I ain't write the book in the, you know what I mean, in prison. INF 360 is right here, but it stands for I am now and forever.
Yeah.
And it's a celebration of spirituality, you know what I mean, of the infinity-ness. I just made up a word, the infinity-ness of your soul.
That's what we do. We make up words out here.
I once almost married an African bitch, right? I'm trying to marry her. She said she's gonna put me on. She's gonna give me a record label and a store. My nigga, no, it's true. And what fucked up the whole situation is the sex. Cause I'm in it, I'm enjoying I'm like, oh shit, this It's the African put them in the motherland. and she made a noise that came from the bottom of her motherfucking gut. And she said, I do not want to hear my name in that fucking tone.
I wanted to commend you on writing the story, because I think for a lot of young black youth, the medium of choice is hip hop and rap, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what tends to happen is they get their whole, you know, they come up with this fantasy of the end product, the what's that word? Instant gratification. And they kind of forget the message. And when you're writing, you can't forget the message.
What happens is we don't realize the power of not being the one that's shucking and jiving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we always want to be the one that's like doing the slam dunk, or the person holding the mic, rapping or singing with, you know, the crowd applauding and everything. But in actuality, it's that bigger corporation that's getting the real money.
Exactly.
You know, like even in the record business, you know, any business, we usually don't control the distribution, the major distribution.
Yeah.
So it's why I'm independent. You know, I push my book myself, I print it myself. You know what I mean? I took it from 100 copies of print to 2,000 copies of print, with me just shipping it and doing it myself. And it's like a kind of like a guerrilla warfare tactic. I wake up every day and I'm like, there's no way I could lose. I decide what's supposed to happen, what I'm going to visualize to happen, and I don't stop until it happens.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get the phony fake phone calls and the this and that, but I take the phony fake phone calls, and whatever you tell me you're going to do for me, you don't have to do it for me because I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
So catch up to me before I do it. I will fund my own document. I'll fund my whole move. I don't give a fuck.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
that's
sir.
just my mentality. That's black business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yo, fam, can I show you my store real quick? 2 minutes of your time? Come on, man. 2 minutes, real quick. Walk fast to respect your time. What's up, big dog? Can I show you my book real quick? 2 minutes of your time? Huh? Self-published author, man. Come check me out. Real quick.
You showed it to me the last time.
Oh, man, you gotta get your copy, big dog. Come on, just check it out. It's called Necessary Evil. It's based, what about you, pretty lady? Powerful story, man. I also touch on RICO law, the effects of Giuliani administration on us.
What do you know about the blood and the truth? Where you from?
I'm originally from Harlem.
Harlem?
Originally from Harlem, yeah. I've been out here in Queens for about 15, 20 years.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Artists gotta support artists, okay? Love,
I mean, I try to.
Thank you so much, sis.
Thank you. I got a hug too?
Open arm, not creepy hug, you know? My book is based on, this is why I would tell you if I just met you, I know. My book is based on the social ecology of New York's drug trade during the mid to early 90s. It's loosely based on my life and some of my experiences, but I changed the names of locations to protect the innocent and protect the guilty, right? Now the nitty gritty is, the book stems from I was always a good writer my whole life, and I was running the streets and doing the wrong thing, and I had like a hard life in a nutshell, and I needed to find another way out. And one of the things I did with me and my brother, we started a clothing line. I started painting on jeans and stuff like that. And then fast forward, I had nowhere to live. I always tell people I was staying on his couch, but I wasn't staying on his couch. I was actually staying on the bunk bed with his sons. So I got 2 little boys next to me, feet in my face and all that. And during the middle of the day in the living room, I just started writing, just spilling out, you know, all my creative juices and my creative energy. The title, Necessary Evil, comes from the aspect of, you know, when me and my best friend met, we were homeless. We had nowhere to live. We were around 18 years old. We met inside a Covenant house, you know, and I find myself in a position in my life where I found myself doing things to survive that I really didn't want to do, you know, compromising some of my morals and principles, you know, things like robbing and stealing from my own people, you know, things like selling chemical warfare to my own people. And, you know, I also think that one of the necessary evils that society has is slavery, politics, you know, all these things that
we are forced to deal with, we have to deal with, but they're not necessarily what we should be dealing with. It's not necessarily appropriate. You know, a necessary evil is something like, that's my mother right there in the second row. You know, if I had to take a life to defend her honor, I would do it in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? And for me, that's a necessary evil.
I've read stuff like Man, Child in the Promised Land, autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You know, so I knew if I wrote something, it would have to be in those
on that
lines.
level. Yeah.
You know, so I just decided to come out with something like that. It was a way of finding freedom too, because they say what you should do is what you were always happy doing as a child.
Yeah.
And what I was always happy doing was writing. Writing and producing art. You know what I mean?
So Kareem, thanks for coming out, man, and building with me. Definitely. If you haven't already, this is Necessary Evil by Kareem Hayes. Check it out. It took me 2 days to read it, so it's not much, but the content is there, and that's what matters.
Hi, waiting for part 2 of Necessary Evil.
The very intelligent brother, man. Very smart. Well articulated.
I read Necessary Evil. I got the book like a week ago, and I don't know what to say about this man. This man is an amazing writer. He knows what he speaks about. He's very intelligent. He's very influenced. About the book, I got it, and I was so happy. I was literally out of my mind. I told him I gave him only 2 months to write book number 2. Right now, I'm not speaking to him because I'm waiting on book number 2.
I think the book is a good book. I think it should be a movie out, and I'm waiting on part 2. But he inspires me to probably make a book myself. So read the book. It's a good book.
Bam!